Some minds don't sleep, they remember.
We're used to thinking of time as a one-way street, aren't we? An arrow fired from the past, piercing through the present and speeding toward an unknown future. We are reluctant travelers on that train, always moving forward, never able to turn back. But tonight, I want you to consider another possibility, one that could shake the very foundations of your reality. Perhaps you think you are moving toward the future, but it's also possible that you have already returned from it with your memory wiped clean. Think about it. That feeling of déjà vu, I'm sure you've experienced it. You're sitting in a new cafe with a new friend, but suddenly a chilling sensation washes over you. You have lived this moment before. Every single detail, the way your friend smiles, the light streaming through the window, the melody of the song that's playing. It's all hauntingly familiar. Our minds rush to label it a trick of the brain. But what if it isn't a trick? What if it's not a memory, but a scar, a faint scar left on your soul from another version of this life? A version you've already lived, already felt, already made mistakes in. And it's not just déjà vu. What about prophetic dreams? You dream of a stranger's face, and then the following week, you meet that very person on the street. A random coincidence? Or an echo from a future that is waiting? If this life is just a tape being rewound, and you are the only one who doesn't remember the script, how would you know? Tonight we will not speak of physics. We will speak of the cracks in time, the traces that your future self might have left behind. You are not afraid of what we might find if you dare to question your own reality. Subscribe to the channel. The journey begins now. The grandfather paradox. Shattered memories in the stream of time. Imagine you stand before a time machine, a gateway shimmering with silver light, promising to take you beyond the limits of reality. You could touch the moments you've lost the day you met your first love, the night you made your biggest mistake, or the second you lost someone important. But if you stepped through that gate, if you dare to interfere with the past, what would happen? Could you heal the wounds of time, or would you accidentally erase your own existence? Welcome to the journey into the cracks in time, where the seemingly immutable laws of the universe are bent, where memory becomes a curse, and every step could make the whole world disappear. We begin with the biggest beast of them all, the one that has haunted physicists, philosophers, and storytellers for nearly a century. The grandfather paradox. It begins with a question that seems absurd, but opens a logical abyss that could swallow our entire understanding of reality. If you had a time machine, went back to the past too, when your grandfather was still a young single man and you killed him, what would happen? Let's follow its stream of logic together, but be careful, for every step leads us to a terrifying dead end. If you kill your grandfather, he will never meet your grandmother. Your father or mother would not be born. And therefore, you, the one holding the gun, the one who just pulled the trigger, would never exist. But if you don't exist, then who went back in time to commit the act? No one. And if no one did, then your grandfather lives, meets your grandmother, and you are born. But if you are born, you will go back in time and kill your grandfather. And the loop continues, a snake eating its own tail. A self-destructing paradox where your action erases the very possibility for you to perform that action. This is not just a mind game. The grandfather paradox is a fortress wall, a direct challenge to the idea of time travel. It tells us that if travel to the past is possible, it would break one of the most fundamental foundations of the universe, the law of cause and effect. The cause must always precede the effect. But in this paradox, the cause and the effect become an endless loop, a maze with no exit where time contradicts itself. The grandfather paradox doesn't just stay in physics labs or on the pages of philosophy books. It is seeped into pop culture, becoming the inspiration for haunting stories about time and existence. Think of Back to the Future. It's a classic film where Marty McFly accidentally travels back to 1955 and disrupts the fateful moment his parents met. As his mother begins to fall for him instead of his father, Marty feels his own existence unraveling. His hand turns transparent, as if reality itself is erasing him from the timeline. The entire film is a desperate race to fix the past, to ensure the cause leads to the effect. But what if he had failed? Would he have vanished completely? Or would the universe find a way to correct the error to keep him in existence? Or look at Looper, a darker film where assassins are sent from the future to the past to eliminate their own older selves. Every time they pull the trigger, they aren't just killing a person, they are erasing a part of their own memories and future. The grandfather paradox here is not a theoretical question, but a brutal reality where self-destruction becomes part of the job. And then there's Tenet, a film that pushes time paradoxes to a new level. In the world of Tenet, time flows not only forward but also backward. Bullets fly back into their barrels, explosions restructure instead of destroy. Cause and effect become a tangled mess, and the grandfather paradox is no longer a question, it is a weapon, a tool to manipulate reality. But even in that chaos, the film poses a question. Are we truly free when we interfere with time, or is it all just a pre-written play? These stories, though different in context, all touch upon the same fear, that a small action in the past, a word, a glance, a decision, could create a butterfly effect. A small ripple that spreads into a tidal wave, wiping out the entire reality we know. One wrong moment could cause you, your family, or the whole world to vanish, as if you had never existed. But there is another explanation, an idea even stranger and more frightening than the paradox itself. It is the self-correcting timeline hypothesis. Imagine time is not a rigid, fragile line, but a living, flexible river. You can throw a stone into the river, creating turbulent ripples, but the river, with its innate strength, will always find a way to flow onward, adjusting its course to overcome the obstacle. This hypothesis suggests the universe has a self-preservation mechanism, an immune system against paradoxes. If you go back in time to kill your grandfather, something will happen to stop you. Maybe your gun will jam at the fateful moment. Maybe a sudden gust of wind will throw you off balance, or a car will accidentally cut you off. Or, in a more terrifying twist, you discover that the person you just killed was not your grandfather, but a stranger who looked just like him. The universe somehow will conspire to protect its own existence. What happened must happen. You cannot change the script. You are just an actor, trying to play a role that doesn't belong to you. What feeling does this idea bring? Sense of comfort that the past is immutable, that our reality is protected by invisible laws? Or a sense of powerlessness, that we are merely puppets in a predetermined play, where every effort to change is futile? Imagine you had the chance to go back to a moment in your own past, a decision you regret, a word you wish you could take back, a person you wish you could keep. Would you dare to change it, knowing that a small change could create an unforeseeable butterfly effect? An action that could make you a completely different person, or worse, erase the person you are today. The grandfather paradox is not just a question about time. It's a question about freedom, about the meaning of existence. If you could change the past, what would you choose? And if you couldn't, could you accept the idea that everything in your life, from the greatest joys to the deepest sorrows, is part of an unchangeable script? Leave your thoughts in the comments. A like and subscribe will show you're ready to venture further on this journey, where time is not just a straight line, but a labyrinth full of cracks and mysteries. The grandfather paradox warns us about how actions in the past can destroy the future. But there is an even stranger paradox, one about things that seem to have no starting point, things born from nothing, as if they came from a reality that never existed. In the next part, we will enter the world of objects without origin, things that challenge every concept of cause and effect, and ask the question, are there things in this universe that do not belong to our timeline? The bootstrap paradox, eternal creations with no origin. Imagine you are holding an ancient book, its leather cover worn and torn, its pages filled with characters from no language you've ever known. You search for its origin in libraries, on antique websites, through oral histories, but find nothing. Not a single document, not a single record, not a single clue explains where it came from. The book simply exists, as if it fell from a void between dimensions of time, an object with no past, no author. And when you open it, you see your name written on the first page in your own handwriting, but you swear you've never touched it before. Welcome to the Bootstrap Paradox, a temporal labyrinth where cause and effect no longer follow familiar rules. In the previous part, we faced the grandfather paradox, logical monster warning that an act in the past could erase the future. But this paradox is different. It's not about destruction, but about creation, or more precisely, the lack of a beginning. It poses a question that will make both your mind and soul real. If something has no origin, no creator, where did it come from? And what if you yourself are part of that eternal loop? Let's step into a thought experiment, a story that will lead us deep into the cracks of time. Imagine you are a lover of classical music, and your idol is Ludwig van Beethoven. You possess a time machine, a gateway shimmering with silver light. You decide to travel back to 19th century Vienna to meet him. Your luggage is a special gift, a copy of Für Elise, Beethoven's immortal masterpiece, a melody that has captivated millions over the centuries. When you meet Beethoven, you find him in a creative crisis. The notes no longer flow, and he sits there, desperate, before blank pages of sheet music. To encourage your idol, you give him the sheet music for Für Elise. Beethoven looks at it, his eyes lighting up in awe at the beauty and subtlety of the melody. He has never seen it before. He copies the music, studies it, and a few years later, he publishes it as his own work. Elise becomes a musical legacy, echoing through time from the 19th century to the day you were born. Centuries later, you grow up, learn piano, and one of the first pieces you play is Für Elise. You love it so much that you decide to take it back to the past to give to Beethoven, and so you do. Now pause and ask yourself, who composed Für Elise? Beethoven. No, he only copied it from the sheet music you gave him. You also know you only brought a piece of music you believed Beethoven had written. So where did the melody come from? It has no starting point, no author. It is an orphan of time, trapped in a closed causal loop, passed back and forth between you and Beethoven forever. No one created IT8, simply exists like an immortal idea, beyond the laws of cause and effect. This is the bootstrap paradox, named after the English phrase to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, a physically impossible act. In this paradox, an object, an idea, or even a person can pull itself into existence without any clear origin. It is a creation without a creator, a time loop that challenges all our beliefs about how the world works. The bootstrap paradox isn't just a theoretical question. It has become the inspiration for some of the most complex and mind-bending science fiction stories. In the series Doctor Who, there's an episode where the Doctor, in a future where Beethoven's works have been lost, copies them all and takes them back to the past to give to Beethoven himself. The Doctor didn't compose them. He was just the deliverer man. But without him, these masterpieces would not exist. So who really wrote them? The answer? No one. They simply exist in an endless time loop. Or think of Predestination, a film that pushes the bootstrap paradox to its extreme. The main character, through complex time loops, becomes their own father, mother, and child. Closed lineage, with no external origin, no beginning or end. They are a self-creating, self-sustaining entity, forever trapped in the stream of time. And perhaps no work captures the dizziness of this paradox better than the German series Dark. In it, a book about time travel, written by H.G. Tannhaus, comes the very inspiration for him to build the time machine. But where did the book come from? It was brought from the future to the past by time travelers, and Tannhaus himself receives it before he writes it. The book exists because it exists a loop with no author, no starting point. These stories force us to confront a frightening idea that there may be things in this universe that do not need a first cause. A piece of music, a book, an idea, or even a person could simply appear, without a creator, as if they are fragments of another reality thrown into our timeline. The bootstrap paradox, while less destructive than the grandfather paradox, poses a deeper philosophical challenge. It forces us to reconsider our most basic belief, that everything must have a first cause, a clear starting point. If an idea, an object, or an event can exist without an origin, what does that mean for how we understand the world? Think about the moments in your life when a sudden idea flashes into your mind. A melody you've never heard but feels familiar. A perfect sentence that writes itself on the page. A solution to a complex problem that appears in a dream, as if someone whispered it in your ear. Have you ever asked yourself, where did that idea really come from? We usually assume it's a product of the subconscious, of pieced together fragments of memories and experiences. But what if just for a moment we consider a stranger possibility? That those ideas are not yours, nor are they anyone else's? That they are echoes from a time loop. Fragments of another reality, sent to you to become part of this world. Or just the channel, the deliverer man, like you with Beethoven in the story of Für Elise. What feeling does this idea bring? A sense of smallness? That you are just a tool for larger, immortal ideas? Or a sense of connection, that you are part of a grander story beyond your own finite existence? The bootstrap paradox forces us to face a daunting question. If something has no origin, does it truly belong to our world? And if you, in a moment of déjà vu, feel like you're reliving a memory that isn't yours, could it be that you've been here before, in a time loop you can't remember? Share your thoughts in the comments. Has a sudden idea ever changed your life? And do you believe it was truly yours, or just an echo from somewhere, sometime that you cannot touch? A like and subscribe will show you're ready to continue this journey into the hidden corners of time, where cause and effect are no longer straight lines. The bootstrap paradox, though strange, still leaves a bit of freedom. You can choose whether or not to give the music to Beethoven. But what if I told you there's an even more frightening paradox? One where every action you take, no matter how free you think it is just part of a pre-written script? In the next part, we will step into the predestination paradox, where time is not just a loop, but a prison, where all your choices have been determined in advance. The predestination paradox, the time prison with no escape. Imagine you stand before a door leading to the past, a door promising you the chance to fix the biggest mistakes of your life. A word you wish you could take back. A person you wish you could save. A moment you wish you could relive. But what if you step through that door, only to discover that every action you take, no matter how desperate, no matter how heroic, only leads to the very outcome you were trying to prevent? What if your very effort to change fate is the thing that fulfills it? Welcome to the predestination paradox, prison of time where every choice you make is not freedom, but part of a pre-written script. In the previous part, we explored the bootstrap paradox, where a piece of music or an idea can exist without an origin, like an immortal melody echoing through time loops. But the predestination paradox offers no magic or creativity. It delivers a brutal truth. You cannot change the past, because you are already a part of it. It begins with a question that will make your mind spin. If you go back to the past to prevent a tragedy, is your action the very thing that causes it? Let's step into a story, a tragedy written in the ink of time, where every effort to change only leads to deeper despair. Imagine a man named John. He loves his wife more than anything in the world. She is his light, the reason he wakes up every day. But on one fateful rainy night, she leaves the house after a trivial argument, a word he wishes he could take back. On the wet road, a truck loses control and crashes into her car.
Ow.
She doesn't survive. The memory of that moment, the phone call with the news, the image of the wrecked car, and the unbearable emptiness has haunted John for years. In his grief, John becomes obsessed with an impossible idea, building a time machine. He dedicates his entire life, sacrificing everything: his job, his friends, his own health, to build a device that can take him back to that rainy night. He has only one goal: to stop his wife from leaving the house, to save her from her cruel fate. After decades, he succeeds. The time machine glimmers with a cold light, ready to take him to the past. John steps through the portal of time, returning to that fateful evening, his heart filled with hope and determination. Attempt 1. John doesn't argue with his wife. Instead, he tells her how much he loves her. He apologizes for every mistake. She smiles, her eyes sparkling, and they embrace in a perfect moment. But then, the phone rings. A friend is calling, needing her to come over immediately. She kisses him, says she'll be back soon, and walks out the door. John tries to stop her, but she still goes. On that exact road, at that exact time, the accident still happens. Attempt 2, John decides he must be more drastic. He goes back in time again, and before his wife can leave the house. He sneaks into the garage and punctures all 4 of her tires. If the car is broken, she can't go, he thinks. But his wife, in a hurry, doesn't check the car. She calls a taxi. And it is that very taxi that gets into an accident at the same intersection at the same time. Attempt 3, 4, 100. John doesn't give up. He cuts the power to the house so the garage door won't open, but she walks and is hit by a drunk driver at another intersection. He creates a fake traffic jam to block the fateful road, but she takes a detour, only to have a broken tree branch fall on her car during the storm. Every time John changes a variable, the universe seems to rewrite the equation, but the final result never changes. In his final attempt, in utter desperation, John does something he never dared to imagine. He runs out of the house, stands in the middle of the road, trying to block his wife's car. He waves his arms, screams, begs her to stop. But the driver, coming from the opposite direction, startled by the sight of John, swerves suddenly, loses control, and crashes directly into his wife's car. In that horrifying moment, John realizes a brutal truth. He wasn't the savior. He was the cause. His presence, his desperate attempts to change the past, was the final variable the universe needed to complete the tragedy. He couldn't change fate because he was a part of it. Every action he took, whether born of love or desperation, only led to the same ending, as if time had already written the script, and he was just an actor reading his lines correctly. This is the predestination paradox. Your attempts to change the past don't destroy reality like the grandfather paradox, nor do they create a creative loop like the bootstrap paradox. Instead, they reveal a terrifying truth. What you try to prevent is what you were born to cause. You are not the scriptwriter. You are an actor, trapped in a play you cannot change. The predestination paradox has seeped into science fiction stories where time becomes a prison with no escape. Think of 12 Monkeys, the film where the protagonist, James Cole, sent from a post-apocalyptic future to prevent a pandemic that destroyed humanity. He tries to change the past, to find the source of the virus, but every action he takes only leads to the very events that caused the pandemic. He witnesses his own death, not as an outsider, but as part of a fateful loop where he was always destined to fail. In the series Dark, the predestination paradox is the heart of the story. The characters try to break the cycle of suffering and loss, but every attempt they make, whether saving a loved one or preventing a catastrophe, only reinforces that cycle. They cannot escape because they are the ones who create it. Or think of The Time Traveler's Wife, a romantic but tragic story. Henry, an involuntary time traveler, tries to protect his wife Claire from the suffering he unintentionally brings. But every time he tries to change the past, he only makes her love him more deeply, binding her more tightly to the very tragedies he wants to erase. These stories all touch upon a deep fear that free will might just be an illusion, that every decision, every action, no matter how free you think it is just part of a pre-written script. The predestination paradox poses a question that weighs heavily on your heart. Does free will truly exist? If all your efforts to change the past only lead to its fulfillment, then what is the meaning of choice? Do love, sacrifice, or courage still have value? if they are just pre-programmed responses in a vast cosmic script? Think about the moments in your life when you tried to fix a mistake, an apology sent too late, a decision you wish you had made differently. Have you ever felt that, no matter how hard you tried, the outcome didn't change? That your efforts, instead of changing fate, seemed to lead you right to the place you feared most? Perhaps our lives, like John's story, are a pre-filmed movie. We think we are improvising, but we are actually just reading lines that were written long ago. Or perhaps in some corner of our minds we sense this truth. And that is what makes moments of déjà vu so frightening. As if you are reliving a memory you are not supposed to remember. What does this feeling bring? Sense of relief that if everything is predetermined, you no longer have to bear the burden of wrong choices. Or a sense of fear that if there is no free will, then everything you cherish, love, hope, courage are just illusions in a story that doesn't belong to you. The predestination paradox forces us to confront a daunting question. If all your actions are predetermined, are you still yourself? If you were born to fulfill a tragedy, can you find meaning in living through it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe in destiny? Or do you believe that every choice, no matter how small, can still create a new future? A like and subscribe will show you're ready to continue this journey into the hidden corners of time where freedom and fate collide. The paradoxes we have explored, the grandfather paradox, bootstrap paradox, the predestination paradox, are all based on the assumption that time is an objective stream, a pre-drawn path, whether we travel forward or backward. But what if that very assumption is wrong? What if time is not a path, but an ocean of possibilities? What if our own consciousness, our very act of looking, is what creates that path? In the next part, we will step into the strange and beautiful world of quantum physics, where time is not just a loop, but a network of parallel realities, where every choice can exist at the same time. The observer paradox, consciousness creating the flow of time. Imagine you are standing in an infinite void where there is no light, no sound, no reference points. There is only you and your consciousness floating in an ocean of possibilities. You open your eyes and suddenly a world appears, stars, planets, moments of past and future, all shaped by your gaze. But if you close your eyes, if no one is there to witness it, does the universe continue to exist? Does time continue to flow? Welcome to the observer paradox, where time is not an immutable river, but an ocean of possibilities, only taking shape when there is a consciousness to look at it. In the previous part, we faced the predestination paradox, prison of time where every action you take only fulfills a pre-written script. But what if the very assumption that time is an objective reality is a mistake? What if time only exists when someone is observing it? Let's step into an ancient philosophical question, but reshaped by the strange discoveries of quantum physics. If no one witnesses the universe, does time actually pass? Let's start with a classic riddle. If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? This question seems simple at first, but it opens a philosophical abyss. On one hand, you could say yes, sound waves are still created, propagating through the air, regardless of whether anyone hears them. But on the other hand, sound is not just vibrating waves. It is the experience of hearing those vibrations interpreted into meaning by a brain. Without an ear, a consciousness to perceive it, does sound truly exist? Or is it just a potential, an unformed possibility? Now, let's expand that question to a cosmic scale. If there is no consciousness to observe, to witness the universe's changes, does time pass? The entire universe were an empty forest, with no one to hear the trees fall? Would concepts like past, present, or future have any meaning? This is no longer a mere philosophical question. This is where our journey enters the strange, beautiful, and sometimes frightening world of quantum physics, where reality is not as certain as we once thought. In our macroscopic world, everything seems certain. A table is a table, you can touch it, measure it, sit on it. Its existence does not depend on whether you are looking at it. But when you delve into the subatomic world, the world of electrons, photons, and quarks. All the rules seem to be turned upside down. At the quantum level, reality is no longer certain. A subatomic particle, before being observed, does not exist in a specific position or state. It exists in a state called superposition, where it is simultaneously in all possible states. It can be here, there, or everywhere at once. It is not a particle, but a cloud of possibilities, a wave of unformed potential. And then, the strangest thing happens. When we try to look at that particle, when we measure it, that cloud of possibilities collapses. The act of observation forces the particle to choose a single stata, specific position, a specific velocity. Before you look, it is everything. When you look, it becomes one thing. This is known as the observer effect, a phenomenon that changes the very reality we are trying to understand. Imagine a shy cat that only moves when you're not looking. When you turn back, it stands still like a statue. Your act of looking has changed its behavior. In the quantum world, reality is just as shy only decides on its state when there is a consciousness to witness it. So what does this have to do with time? It poses a bold, almost metaphysical hypothesis. Is human consciousness, our ability to perceive and observe, the very thing that shapes the flow of time? Imagine time is not a river flowing in one direction, regardless of who is there. Instead, envision time as an endless ocean of possibilities, where every possible moment exists simultaneously in a state of superposition. The past where you turned left, the future where you turned right, and the present where you stood still are floating in that ocean, unformed. And your consciousness, the lighthouse of your awareness, is what sweeps across this ocean. When you look at a moment, when you focus your consciousness on it, the wave of possibilities collapses, and a single reality is formed. You are not just a passenger drifting along the stream of time, you are a captain, parting the waves of the ocean of possibilities, creating your own path by choosing where to shine the light of your consciousness. What does this mean? It means that time at its most fundamental level may not be an independent entity. It may be a product of consciousness, of observation. If there is no one to witness, no one to look, do concepts like past, present, or future still exist? This idea has inspired some fascinating science fiction stories. In Interstellar, the protagonist Cooper travels through a black hole and enters a space where time is no longer a straight line. He can look into moments of his daughter's past, his actions in that space. The act of observing and interfering shaped the reality of all humanity. His consciousness, in a way, became the tool for navigating time. Or think of Arrival, where the character Louise Banks learns an alien language that changes how she perceives time. She begins to see the past, present, and future simultaneously, as if her consciousness has transcended the linear timeline, becoming an all-seeing observer in the ocean of possibilities. In the series Westworld, artificial characters gradually develop consciousness, and with it, they begin to experience time in a non-linear way. Memories, loops, and parallel realities become indistinguishable, as if their consciousness is reshaping how time operates in their world. These stories all touch upon one idea, that our consciousness is not just a product of time, but a force that shapes it. The observer paradox forces us to look at our very ordinary experiences from a new perspective. Think about dreams where time seems to melt. You can fly, talk to people who have passed away, or relive moments from the past, but with a different outcome. Is that just a product of imagination? Or is your consciousness wandering through other waters in the ocean of time, exploring parallel realities? Think about vivid memories, when you suddenly recall a summer day from your childhood, the smell of fresh-cut grass, sunlight on your skin, the sound of friends laughing. That memory is not just an image in your mind. It's so vivid you feel like you're actually there. Could it be that your consciousness, for a moment, has reconnected with the energy of that past moment? Or think about the times you daydream when your mind drifts from the present, wandering into future scenarios or past regrets. Are those moments when your consciousness is experimenting, sweeping across other possibilities in the ocean of time? These moments might not be just electrochemical activity in the brain. It could be forms of mental travel. Instances where your consciousness steps off the familiar path of time to explore other realities. What feeling does this idea bring? A sense of wonder that you might be a time traveler in your own mind, or a sense of fear that your reality is just one of countless possibilities, and your consciousness is the only thing holding it together. The observer paradox challenges us to question the nature of time and consciousness. If time only flows when someone is watching, then you, with every thought, every memory, every dream, are shaping the universe in ways you never imagined. But if your consciousness can create time, why do we so often feel stuck in a single stream, repeating the same mistakes, the same pains? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had a dream or memory so vivid it felt like you were reliving another reality? Like and subscribe will show you're ready to continue this journey into the hidden corners of time where consciousness and reality intersect. The observer paradox opens up the possibility that we are the captains of time. But what if the path we create is not a straight line, but a loop? What if we are reliving the same moment, the same tragedy over and over again? In the next part, we will step into the world of time loops, where time doesn't flow, but circles. And each loop is an opportunity or a curse. The time loop, the universe's classroom for you unawakened souls. Imagine you wake up one morning, the alarm clock rings, sunlight streams through the curtains, and you begin a new day. But when that day ends, you open your eyes again, and everything repeats. The same alarm clock, the same sunlight, same cup of coffee, filled to the exact same line. You try to change things, you take a different route, say different words, but the day still ends, and you return to the beginning. You are stuck in a time loop, a single day repeating endlessly, with no tomorrow, no escape. Welcome to the time loop, a nightmare where time doesn't move forward, but spins like a scratched record, repeating the same tune until you either go mad or awaken. In the previous part, we explored the observer paradox, where your consciousness shapes the flow of time, like a lighthouse parting the waves of an ocean of possibilities. But if consciousness can travel freely, why do we so often feel stuck? Stuck in a habit, a mistake, or a pain, repeating over and over like a curse. Today, we will confront the question: is a time loop a punishment or an opportunity to learn and grow? And even more frighteningly, are you already living in a time loop without realizing it? When you hear time loop, you probably think of the classic film Groundhog Day. Phil Connors, selfish man, gets stuck on February 2nd, repeating it endlessly in the small town of Punxsutawney. As he wakes up every morning to the same song on the radio, the same weather forecast, the same sequence of events. At first, he uses the loop for hedonistic indulgence, but gradually, the repetition becomes a nightmare. He tries everything to escape, even suicide, but every morning he wakes up unharmed to live the same day all over again. Phil's story is a powerful metaphor, but it's not just a science fiction idea. The time loop is a concept that has seeped into pop culture, psychology, and even spirituality. As a symbol for the cycles we can't escape, imagine being stuck in the worst 24 hours of your life. Maybe it's the day you were fired, the day you lost a loved one, or the day you said hurtful words you can't take back. Every morning you wake up knowing exactly what will happen, but unable to change the outcome. You try, but the universe seems to always find a way to bring you back to the same starting point. That's not just a nightmare, it's the definition of hell. But what if I told you that a time loop is not a curse, but a classroom? A classroom designed by the universe specifically for you, where you can't graduate until you learn the lesson that time is trying to teach you. Time loops have become a favorite trope in science fiction, with each story exploring a different facet of repetition. In Edge of Tomorrow, Major Cage is trapped in a time loop, repeating the day he fights and dies in a war against aliens. Each time he dies, he returns to the beginning, but with a memory of his previous attempts. He learns to fight better, to understand his comrades more deeply, and eventually finds a way to break the loop by defeating the enemy. The loop here is an opportunity for self-improvement, but also a reminder that every failure is a lesson. In the series Russian Doll, Nadia is stuck on her birthday, dying and reliving it through bizarre accidents. With each repetition, she uncovers new aspects of herself, her traumas, her regrets, her wrong choices. The loop forces her to confront herself, and only when she learns to accept and love herself does the loop break. Or think of Palm Springs, a humorous but profound story about two people stuck in a repeating wedding day. They go through every emotion from joy and abandon to despair, but ultimately, they find meaning in facing the loop together, learning to live each moment to the fullest. These stories all suggest that the time loop is not just a physical phenomenon, but a psychological and spiritual journey. They pose the question, if you were stuck in one day, what would you learn about yourself? You don't need a time machine to experience a time loop. Our lives, to some extent, are already loops. Think about psychology. You ever notice yourself repeating the same mistakes in relationships? Time and time again, you choose to love the same wrong type of person. At first, everything is brilliant, like night talks, smiles, promises. But then, the old problems resurface. The same kind of arguments, the same feeling of being hurt, the same painful ending. Psychologists call this repetition compulsion. We are unconsciously drawn to situations that recreate unhealed wounds from our past, perhaps from childhood, from a failed relationship, or from an unresolved pain. We reenact the old play, hoping to write a different ending, but each time, we fail until we stop and ask ourselves, why do I keep choosing this role? What is the lesson here? Maybe the lesson is about self-worth, learning to love yourself before loving others. Maybe it's about setting boundaries or forgiving an old wound. When you realize and learn that lesson, the loop breaks. Start choosing different relationships, writing a new script for your life. In many Eastern beliefs, the concept of reincarnation is a time loop on the grandest scale. Our souls don't just live one life. You return living different lives in different bodies, facing different challenges. Why? Because there are lessons that one lifetime is not enough to learn. Lessons about compassion, about forgiveness, about letting go of the ego. Each life is a repetition, a chance to make better choices, to heal the karma from the past. We keep repeating until our soul has completed all its lessons and finally graduates from the cycle of reincarnation, reaching a state of enlightenment. In Buddhism, this loop is called samsara, a wheel of birth and death that never stops turning. But that wheel is not a curse. It is a classroom where each life is a test, and each choice is an opportunity to get closer to liberation. The idea that time loops are not a punishment, but a classroom of the universe, offers a new perspective on our failures and mistakes. The times you stumble, the times you repeat the same pain, are not signs of failure. They are reminders that there is a lesson you haven't learned, a part of your soul that has not yet awakened. Think about your life. Are you in any kind of loop? A job you hate, but keep going back to every day? A bad habit you can't break? A relationship you know is unhealthy but still can't leave? If you feel stuck, perhaps the universe is trying to tell you something. What is the lesson here? Is it to learn to stand up for yourself? To learn to let go? Or to learn to live each moment fully instead of waiting for a perfect tomorrow? When you learn that lesson, the loop will break, not because time changes, but because you change, become a new version of yourself, ready to move on to a new chapter of your story. What feeling does this idea bring? Sense of comfort, that the loops in your life are not meaningless, but opportunities for growth, or a sense of fear, that you could be stuck forever if you don't find the right lesson. The time loop is not just a science fiction concept. It is a part of our lives, hidden in our habits, our mistakes, our repeating pains. But if you see them not as a curse, but as an invitation to awaken, can you break your own loop? Share your thoughts in the comments. Are you living in a loop of some kind? What do you think the lesson is that the universe is trying to teach you? Like and subscribe will show you're ready to continue this journey into the hidden corners of time. Every loop is a chance to become a better version of yourself. We've talked about being trapped in a loop and how to break it through awakening. But what if I told you there's an even stranger possibility? You have already broken that loop, and those strange memories, those moments of déjà vu, are not echoes from the past, but messages from the future. In our final part, we will explore escape velocity, where time is no longer a loop, but a doorway to entirely new realities. Escape velocity, a message from your own future. Imagine you are standing on a cliff, looking out at a star-studded ocean, where every wave is a moment, a possibility, a different version of your life. You feel a gentle breeze carrying a strange memory, a moment you swear you've lived through. Prophetic dream, a gut feeling that you've met a stranger before. You've always thought these were minor glitches in the mind, echoes from the past. But what if they aren't from the past? What if they are messages from the future? From a version of you that has overcome every loop, learned every lesson, and is trying to guide you onto the right path? Welcome to Escape Velocity, the final part of our journey through the paradoxes of time. In the previous part, we explored time loops, recurring cycles that are not curses, but the universe's classroom where you must learn a lesson to awaken. But what if you have already broken that loop? What if this life, this very moment, is not a trap, but a choice made by you from a future you cannot yet remember? Today, we will confront the final question. If you have lived through it all, broken every loop, why did you choose to come back? Let's return to those out-of-sync moments we mentioned at the beginning of the series. That eerie feeling of déjà vu when you walk into a room and swear you've been here before, said this exact sentence, felt this exact way. Those prophetic dreams where you see an event happen before it actually does. Or that strange intuition that you already know a stranger, as if they've been part of your life story for a long time. We often dismiss them as tricks of the brain, a malfunction in the nervous system, false memory, or just a random coincidence. But what if they aren't glitches? What if they are traces that a future version of you has left behind, like breadcrumbs leading you through the forest of time? Let's do one last thought experiment. Imagine you are a time traveler, but without a machine or a gateway of light. You are a consciousness, moving through the dimensions of time, between different versions of yourself. Your future self, a version that has lived through every mistake, every joy, every lesson, knows exactly which path leads to suffering and which leads to miracles. And somehow, defying the laws of physics we don't yet understand, that version is sending signals back to you right at this moment. That feeling of déjà vu might not be you reliving an old moment. It is a confirmation from the future. Yes, you are on the right path. Keep going. A dream about an old friend where you see them in a specific situation might not be random. It is a gentle nudge from the future. Contact them. This relationship is more important than you think. That uneasy gut feeling when you're about to make a big decision, like turning down a job or entering a relationship, might not be baseless fear. It is a warning from your future self. Stop. You chose this path last time, and it didn't lead where you wanted to go. In this view, the future is not what comes after. It is coming back to guide you. Your life is not a journey of fumbling in the dark, but a silent dialogue between different versions of yourself, across dimensions of space and time. The idea of signals from the future has inspired some hauntingly beautiful science fiction stories. In The Matrix, Neo experiences moments of déjà vu, like when he sees a black cat pass by twice. It's not just a glitch in the Matrix. It's a sign that reality is being rewritten. That another version of the story is trying to seep into his present. In Donnie Darko, the protagonist receives strange visions of the future. It's leading him through a series of seemingly random events. But in the end, those visions reveal that he is living in a time loop, and his choices are part of a larger plan, guided by a future version of himself. Or think of Tenet, where characters move backward through time, sending messages and taking actions from the future to shape the past. Every event, every decision, is part of a complex dance between versions of themselves, as if the future and the past are co-writing the story together. These stories suggest that we are not just victims of time, we are co-creators, receiving signals from the future to shape the present. The idea of escape velocity turns our perception of time upside down. If time doesn't flow past you, but you are traveling through time, then this life is not a test you have to pass for the first time. It is a work of art that you have already completed, and now you are returning to admire it, to feel every brushstroke again, to remember why you painted it that way. Think about the moments in your life when you felt a strange certainty, as if you were guided by an invisible hand. Sudden decision like moving to a new city, or striking up a conversation with a stranger that led to massive changes in your life. Was that random, or was it a message from the future, from a version of you who already knew where this path would lead? Think about the times you've experienced synchronicity, when everything seems to fall into place at the right time. A book falls into your hands exactly when you need it. Okay, a person appears in your life just when you need a companion. Is that a coincidence? Or are they signs that your future self has left for you, like breadcrumbs guiding you through the forest of time? This idea transforms every past mistake from a burden into a necessary part of the story. It transforms the future from an unknown fear into a silent guide. And it makes the present moment, the very moment you are breathing right now, infinitely precious, because who knows, this might be the moment your future self is remembering most fondly. What feeling does this idea bring? It's a sense of liberation, that you are not trapped in time, but a traveler, trying to remember why you chose this path. Or a sense of awe, that you are in a dialogue with yourself, across dimensions of space and time. Escape velocity is not just about breaking a time loop. It's the realization that you have always been a time traveler, moving through versions of yourself to rediscover why you chose to return. Every moment of déjà vu, every dream, every gut feeling could be a message from the future, reminding you that you are not alone, that you are being guided by yourself. Share your final thoughts in the comments. Is the feeling of "I've been here before" familiar to you? And if it really is a message from the future, what do you think it's trying to tell you? A like and subscribe will show you're ready to continue this adventure, not just through time, but through your own soul. Thank you for bravely journeying with me through the dizzying paradoxes of time, from the grandfather paradox, the bootstrap paradox, the predestination paradox, the observer paradox, to the time loop, and finally, escape velocity. Your curiosity and contemplation have made this journey what it is. The night is late. The mystery of time will perhaps forever be an unsolved puzzle. And maybe that's for the best. As long as it remains a mystery, life remains an adventure, where every moment is a chance to remember why you are here. Sleep well, with dreams of a future that is whispering to you.
You've crossed the story. You felt every pulse in the dark, and I was there with you, quietly, always. That's why I left behind one last thing. Not to explain, not to impress, just to stay with you a little longer. A song I chose with care, as if tucking you in from across time and space. So go on, lay back. The music knows where to take you. still here, then you're something rare. Not many stay this long. So, thank you for choosing to stay. I'm here too, still awake, surrounded by the quiet glow of my editing screen, shaping the next stories just for you. If there's anything you want to leave behind, a whisper, a suggestion, even just a symbol, drop it in the comments. Because maybe, tomorrow night, you'll hear yourself echoed in a story that's never been told before. Still here, even now? I have a feeling part of you is still wandering somewhere between wakefulness and dreaming. I know that feeling well because I'm still awake with you. In a quiet room, I'm gently laying out layers of sound. Each breath, each beat, preparing the next journey we'll take together. If you're still listening, leave me a sign. Let me know how you're feeling or just where you are in this vast world. Because right now, in this stillness, you are not alone. You're still there, aren't you? I can't see you, but I can feel you. Like a soft signal pulsing across the silence. Over here, I'm still working, refining layers of sound, rewriting fragments of voice, building the landscape for our next adventure. One that you might inspire. If an idea comes to you, share it with me. Comment below. A theme, a memory, a strange dream. I read every word because I never tell these stories alone. I tell them with you.